Hey witches, how you doing today? We are back with another video, and today I want to talk about something that I didn't think I'd ever really talk about on my channel, and that's tarot. And I want to talk about tarot and my evolving relationship with tarot. It's been quite a journey for my little type A personality, so we're gonna get into it. But before we do, for those of you who are new around here, my name is Taya. Welcome to the channel. We talk about all things witchcraft, including apparently tarot. And for those of you who are returning viewers, maybe coming in from another video, welcome back. I so appreciate the support, and all of you, please consider subscribing. It's a really great way to help us build the channel. So, my complicated and evolving relationship with tarot. So when I first started in witchcraft, I was like 19 or 20, and to say I had no interest in tarot is an understatement. I wasn't interested, and then I was like actively sort of almost against it. It seemed to me to be so cliche. Just because you're a witch, everybody just assumes that you read tarot. And I have this thing in my brain where I push back really hard on sort of expected obligations. And I just was like, no, I'm not reading tarot. Just because I'm a witch doesn't mean I have to read tarot. And I remember at the time, the Rider-Waite-Smith deck was sort of, it's always been sort of the gold standard. I remember looking at it and thinking, oh, it's ugly. It's ugly, it's cluttered. It doesn't speak to me. Like, I look at the cards and it doesn't mean anything. I'm just not interested. Go by a couple of years, and I received a gift from my sister. I believe it was for my birthday. And she got me this gorgeous tarot deck. It's called the Renaissance Tarot. Legends of the past now reveal the future. And because this isn't readily available online, I'll show you a few of the cards while I sort of talk through it. So yeah, I wasn't really overly interested in tarot, but this deck was beautiful, and it spoke to me. Not that I could read the cards intuitively, but I felt they were beautiful, and I felt like they had a message for me. You can see they fit my personality. They're very pared back. There's a lot of like gold and silver metallics. These are actually, the cards are made, they're almost like an image that was modeled in clay. So they're very, very artistic. And yeah, the deck really, really spoke to me. And so I thought, okay, I could, play with it a little bit. And I kind of got into it, right? So I started doing a reading here and there using these cards from the Renaissance Tarot. But I never learned the cards. And it comes with this gorgeous, this is a book. It's not just like a little pamphlet. It's like a book where it outlines, here's like the King of Wands, and he's got like 2 full pages right up on him. So it's very detailed. It's got reversals, it's got everything in it, and it's a gorgeous book. So I was always reading with the book as my support. So it's very supported learning. Now, at one point, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I was like, you know what? I've been dabbling, I don't really do tarot. But I thought maybe it would be fun to learn it. And at a secondhand shop, of course, I found this book from 1979 called Tarot, A New Handbook for the Apprentice by Eileen Connolly from 1979. This book came out when I was like 3 years old. And it's a system for learning tarot. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna learn tarot. Yeah, it didn't connect. It just really didn't ever speak to me. And so that was my end of tarot learning for the time, if you will. And occasionally, I would do readings with the book, and I have to say that deck, those readings were always super accurate. It was always a little bit uncanny, but it wasn't intuitive. It wasn't easy. And then, a couple of years ago, I picked up a deck. It's not tarot, it's an oracle deck. It's called Oracle Wisdom from Your Space by Deb Reagan. So it was like, oh, okay, we'll play with some oracle cards. I needed them for a class I was taking where she taught everybody how to read oracle cards. And I'm picky, and I searched high and low for these cards. I've actually got an unboxing video of them. That was one of the first videos I ever did on my channel. And they all come sort of like this, where there's a beautiful mandala and then a single word for each card. So like this card is magic, nurture, possibilities. And I found that reading with these cards was super intuitive. I don't think I've even cracked the spine on the little how-to book. So I was like, I loved reading with these cards, these oracle cards, because single word, and then it was just like intuitively, what does that mean to you in this situation in regards to this particular topic? And they were really great cards for reading. And I remember thinking, I wish tarot could be this easy to read. Because at this point I'm starting to go, okay, maybe, tarot's kind of interesting. It's like this challenge that I haven't sort of hurdled yet, right? I've hurdled lots of challenges in my witchcraft career, but tarot's one that I just couldn't seem to get through. So I kind of had gone from pushing back against not wanting to do it to just sort of feeling almost like, I don't know if I can do it, even if I wanted to. So, but reading with those oracle cards gave me a feel for what intuitive reading can feel like, what it can feel like to actually work with a deck and really have it speak to you. So, just over a year ago, I started my studying the tradition that I'm working in now through the Red Thread Academy. And one of my first year assignments, well, there was like 4 assignments. It was 4 divination methods, scrying plus 3 of your choice. So I thought, you know what, maybe this is my chance, to really learn tarot. And I thought, okay, let's go. We'll start with the basics. You know what? I'm going to get me a Rider-Waite-Smith deck. And I looked up the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, and I was still like, I don't know. And then, awesomely, I found the Modern Witch Tarot. I'm not going to flip through it. You guys will, you can look that one up online if you want. The Modern Witch Tarot. And when I looked at the cards, they were like super not intuitive, but like I would look and I'm like, oh, I bet you that has something to do with like balance, right? You got the infinity symbol, and it's this idea of balance, right? For the 2 of Pentacles. Oh, shocking. It means balance. And I was like, okay, like they're pretty cards. They're very close to the Rider-Waite-Smith, but they're updated a little bit. So like the 2 of Wands, typically in Rider-Waite-Smith, she's holding like a globe in her hands. The idea is kind of the world is in the palm of your hand, you've got lots of opportunities, you've got lots of options. And in this deck, she's actually holding, rather than a globe or a world, she's holding a cell phone, which in modern times is like the world is at your fingertips, right? I actually heard somebody the other day refer to cell phones as the modern Library of Alexandria. You literally have at your fingertips anything you could possibly want to know. And I thought that was like, wow, that was kind of mind-blowing. So anyways, a little bit of updated imagery. They're young, they're fun, but they still have like the classic Rider-Waite-Smith imagery built into them as well. And so I thought, okay, the cards kind of sang to me. They were like, yes, we will work for you. And I thought, okay, this is good, right? Intuitively, I'm sort of connecting to this deck. So before I started my actual assignment, I was like, I need to learn these cards. Now, if you haven't figured this out yet, I'm very type A. And so I made myself a study book. It's just like a scribbler, and I just made a cute cover for it, for the Modern Witch Tarot deck. But what I did was I went through and I found online like a little set of images for the Modern Witch Tarot, and I went through and I printed out each card and pasted it in. And then I copied in, so this is for the Knight of Swords. I would copy in, okay, the knights mean motion. This one means opinionated or hasty, right? Because the horse is moving fast. And then this is the suit of air, which means logic, reason, and cool-headedness. And then I went through the little book, and it's teeny, the little book that comes with this deck, this guy here, He's just a little guy. And I went through and I copied out the meanings, just in point form, for each card as a starting place, right? So then I was like, okay, I've got that information. Then I started watching videos. You know, there's videos where they walk through the Rider-Waite-Smith deck and they tell you this is the meaning for each card and this is how the story plays out and da-da-da-da. So then I started making notes on that. And then as the time has gone by, if I see somebody talking about a card and they make a particular observation that I'm like, ooh, that's good, I'll write it down in my book. And I was like, I'm going to study and learn what all the cards mean. So it wasn't, at this point, it's definitely not intuitive reading. I'm still, you know, I need my booklet. But, you know, I was starting to learn the cards. I would pull a card a day and sort of try to learn the keywords and how those fit into the imagery on the card so I could recall them. And I was at the point where I'm like, okay, I can kind of come up with a keyword for each card and get a general sense of what it's talking about. So I was comfortable at this point. I was kind of like comfortable, but I wouldn't say I'm like, yay, tarot, right? I was like, okay, I kind of got this figured out. So I did my assignment, which was to do daily readings for 7 days, and I struggled. I was like, what am I gonna read about for 7 days? And this will come up again. So my instructor gave me some ideas, right? She's like, well, why don't you do like you know, what's my action for the day, what's the obstacle, and what's the outcome? So that's the reading I did every day for 7 days. I did a full moon reading, and then I had to do a reading for someone else. So I did a reading for my daughter. I'm like, okay. So I finished the assignment, and I'm like, all right, I know tarot. This is great. But practice is sort of the heart of getting good at tarot, right? You have to do it. And I had a lot of difficulty because, first of all, like I'd struggled with in the assignment, I don't have a real like need to know thing in my life where I'm like, oh my gosh, like, am I gonna meet the love of my life? You know, oh, I need money. Like when, you know, am I gonna make that money? Am I gonna make my rent this month? Like I don't have a lot of strife in my life. I don't have a lot of obstacles in my life. I'm a white middle class mom in the suburbs. I'm married. You know, my husband makes good money. I got 2 great kids. Like I don't have a lot of need to knows in my life. So I really sort of just didn't have a lot to do readings on, I felt. Plus, I had no real idea how to study tarot. I'm like, what am I supposed to just buy a book and read it? That sounds so boring. I don't want to read a book on tarot. So really my practice kind of fell off. Then I was introduced to the spread deck, created by Holly Nelson. She very generously sent it to me and said, you know, I heard you talking about your struggles with tarot. You know, you might be interested in this. And it's really cool. So like it's got cards. They just say spread deck on the back. And then it tells you, they're cards to draw, to put together your reading. They're ideas for reading. So you could do inspiration, change, passion, surprise, right? What's the surprise going to be? What do I need? What are the unseen influences? What's the hidden potential? Help. Where do I need help? Or what can I do to help? Like however you want to read that, right? And this is a whole deck of cards that can be used to put together your own custom spreads. And I'm like, perfect. That was really cool. So I've used that a little bit, you know. I tried to make a point to be like, all right, if I ever have a question. So like I went and did a workshop for Beltane. I did a workshop at a local festival here about traditional witchcraft. And I was like a little nervous. How's it going to turn out? Okay, I'll do a reading. Like that made sense to me. I can pull out the tarot, you know, put together a spread and figure out how this is going to go for me. But I don't have a lot of that come up. And I really, at this point, was like, you know, I'm really interested of tarot now. You know, I've kind of gone through this evolution of being very opposed, you know, pushing back against it to now I really want to learn it, but I don't know what to do. So I took this class with, her name is the Mermaid Mystic. Her name is Jenny. She's here local in Edmonton. She's absolutely amazing. She has a YouTube channel. I'll link it in the description below. She's just started it, so it's just getting started. But she was like, oh, she came and taught a tarot class through the guild that I run. And I'm like, yes, I'm going to take this class. And you guys, it was like mind blowing. So she instantly called out sort of my type A personality and was like, yeah, you stop with that. Okay, she's like, I'm going to teach you how to read intuitively. So first, though, we talked about the lenses through which you can study tarot. And I'd never really thought of it like this. To me, it was like, if you want to study tarot, you buy a book and you read a book and that explains all the cards, and how boring is that? She's like, well, think of it this way. You could look at the mythology of the cards. You could look at like how each card is actually tied to a certain deity. You could look at the astrology. You could look at the alchemy. You could look at the artwork, which really appealed to me, having had this other deck, right? And especially even now, just flipping through this other deck, I see way more connections than I made before, having learned this other tarot deck. But you can compare the different visions of different artists who put together tarot decks and see where they're similar and where they're different, and kind of come up with connections there. So all these really interesting ways that you can study tarot without actually just sitting down and reading a tarot book. Although she did have some good recommendations for actual tarot books that you can read. She's like, if you do want to study. And then we talked about intuition and intuitively reading the cards. And it kind of blew my mind. I didn't realize how type A I've been throughout all of this. I must study. I must learn what each card means, right? I must have my notebook of meanings that I can study from. And she's like, put it away. And just, first of all, like, common center yourself. Because of course, I get excited when I go to read text. I'm like, ooh, what's it going to tell me? Ooh. And I get all worked up, and my intuition kind of shuts down a little bit, right? I'm not in tune with what's going on in my body. And she really was like, sit with the card and listen to what it's telling you. And I did my first 2 intuitive readings, one for myself and one was picking a card for someone else. And I did it. I put together a whole reading that made sense. And I've got like, the mermaid mystic there, who's like the master of tarot. She's the only person I'll let read my tarot cards. And she's like, yes, you've got it. Yes, that's exactly what it would mean. Like, good for you. So that feedback really helped. And I was like, I never understood how people read those cards so fluently. I thought that was study, right? In my type A brain, they must have studied a lot and memorized all the meanings and know exactly what it means. And she really taught us about intuitive reading, and how, for me, it's like I need to stop looking with my eyes and start listening with my ears, because I wanted the answer. What does that card mean? What does the 3 of Swords mean? Betrayal. It means betrayal. But it depends on the card on the deck. It depends on who's reading the deck, right? My interpretation is going to be different than your interpretation. It depends on who you're reading for. It depends on what deck you're using, right? In the Modern Witch Tarot, it's like a heart pierced by 3 swords with this black, it almost looks like black blood coming out of the heart. So this is very speaking to me of betrayal. Whereas in my older deck, it's just 3 swords crossed with a heart on either side. That's a really similar image, but very different. And so, yeah, she really taught me to stop looking and start listening. So, yeah, I'm feeling really confident. I spent some time brainstorming, and she sent me some ideas for like 3 card readings that you can do that aren't just like past, present, future. It's like my go-to, past, present, future. And yeah, I'm really excited to actually start working with the tarot in a more intuitive way and interpreting those cards on what they mean for me based on the deck that I'm reading from, and maybe how does it compare to my other deck. So yeah, I'm really excited to actually get going on my tarot journey, if you will, and really dig into it now. So I'm curious, how has your journey through tarot evolved? Were you super on board from the start and you're like a master reader now, or did you need a little extra convincing like I did? Are you an intuitive reader, or are you like, do you follow the guides and go by the books? Yeah, I'd love to know how your tarot journey has evolved so far. That is my story, and yeah, that's our video for today. So thanks for hanging out, folks, and we'll catch you in the next one. Mwah! Thanks so much.